Ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Primetime, we will discuss one potential free agent target for the Dallas Cowboys in this offseason as they try to figure out what is next with Dalton Schultz being set to hit free agency in 2022. So thank you for joining the show. We will talk about that. We will also take a look at what Dalton Schultz prospects look like because around Cowboys Nation, we've been getting this idea that, hey, the Cowboys are not getting back Schultz in 2022, or at least it doesn't sound likely. But tonight, I want to take a look into why. How is his contract going to look like when he signs it, whether it's with the Cowboys or with any other of the 31 NFL franchises? As always, on Mondays, we have a mock draft section in which we take a look at one mock draft around the NFL and take a look at the Cowboys pick and the situation when the Cowboys were on the clock at that time. And to close out the show, we will talk about the XFL signing a deal with the NFL and what it means for football. So thank you guys for joining the show. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. And thank you to the YouTube chat already active. What is up, burner account? What is up, burner account? Joseph Logan, Dallas Young. Joseph Logan saying we should bring in Hayden Hurst. And that could be an interesting possibility. And we'll talk about that too. So let's start the show officially. Here we go, guys, here on Primetime. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodríguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. With a lot more content coming your way, make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas for more Cowboys content, for more Mavericks content as well. You can check that out. I wrote an article about what we discussed last night about the Cowboys' problematic and predictable trends on offense. So in case you want to go back and check that article back, in case you listened to the show last night, but then to me, it works that way. My brain works that way. I like reading the numbers instead of just listening to them. So there's the article up there on adcsports.com if you want to check it out on what we discussed last night. But tonight, we'll talk about one potential free agent that the Cowboys could be interested in, not really to replace Dalton Schultz. And I wanted to bring this topic up, because I don't think that if you are the Cowboys, I don't think that there's one free agent out there that really makes you feel like you are replacing Dalton Schultz. I don't think that really exists in the current NFL market. I think that if the Cowboys end up signing any tight end other than Schultz himself, I think it's more of a Blake Jarwin is going to start kind of situation, and we're signing a backup or at least a tight end to split 50-50 the snaps between him and Jarwin. Because I do believe that, and I'm assuming that Dalton Schultz will be gone in 2022. If the Cowboys end up signing someone, I do feel like it's more of a backup to Blake Jarwin instead of a replacement for Dalton Schultz. I think that Jarwin ends up being the replacement for Schultz. And that's ironic, of course, because 2 years ago, Schultz was replacing Blake Jarwin in a different way when Jarwin went down injured. What is up? Jason Renfro saying, send me a like button. Mine is broke. Guys, help our man Jason Renfro out. Smash the like button and remember to share the stream. So the question for you guys in the chat is, when we're discussing replacing Dalton Schultz or maybe getting Blake Jarwin a backup, do you have low, medium, or high expectations for Blake Jarwin in 2022? Because I think that's the number one question that stems from this entire conversation. And don't worry, we are about to get into the player that, in my opinion, the Cowboys should be targeting in free agency. Joseph Logan over at YouTube, getting ahead of myself, of course, here in the chat. Joseph says that his expectations would be high for Blake Jarwin. I will go with medium. A year ago, I would have said high. 2 years ago, the same. But I got to go with medium because I still don't know. I still feel like I don't know who Blake Jarwin is. But I still believe in his potential, to be honest. Burner account is going with low, specifically because of his durability. He says can't stay on the field, which is a true statement. Dallas Junk, or at least it has been true in the past couple of seasons. Dallas Junk says low. I will go with medium. I still believe maybe in Blake Jarwin's traits that can get him to the next level. However, I don't know who he is yet. And I've said this before on Primetime. The Cowboys signed him to a 3-year contract extension without really seeing him in this starting capacity at any given point, because at first he was maybe in a committee, then there was the Jason Witten situation, and then in 2020, when it was finally his time to shine as the Dallas Cowboys starting tight end, he went down injured. So I really don't know what Jarwin is in the NFL. I do know that if Dalton Schultz ends up leaving for another franchise, I don't feel very confident about only having Blake Jarwin. And that is why I wanted to bring up this free agent, and shout out to ADCSports.com writer Shane Carter, who actually wrote a free agent profile on none other than tight end O.J. Howard from the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I know O.J. Howard has never reached the expectations that were set for him in his NFL draft. I don't know if you guys remember the discourse around O.J. Howard when he got from Alabama to the NFL draft. It was crazy. The talk around Howard was along the lines of him being the best tight end prospect in a long, long time. And he has never really reached that full potential for a lot of reasons, maybe. But even with the Tampa Bay Bucks last season, the season that just ended, he wasn't really a starter because of the Rob Gronkowski thing. And I saw someone point toward O.J. Howard's low production with a 30% snap percentage. But that 30% seems a bit beefed up to me, because in the games that Rob Gronkowski was healthy, Howard was playing under 20% of the plays. Now, that is for a reason as well, and that is for the simple reason that he wasn't the best tight end on the roster. But I still have faith in O.J. Howard's potential, and that faith stems from flashes that we have seen throughout his career, including 2021. We have seen him be this vertical threat. We have seen him really operate with his ideal size and speed at a very high level at times, although we have also seen him be super inconsistent and have durability concerns, which we are complaining about Blake Jarwin's concerns. And then O.J. Howard has also missed a lot of games, including with a hamstring issue and then even more serious injuries. But we cannot overlook, knowing the way that the Cowboys operate, the deal that he has projected, at least according to PFF. And the numbers are quite similar when you take a look at pages like, at websites, like overthecap.com. PFF is projecting O.J. Howard to sign a 1-year contract for $4.1 million. Now, that alone, whether we like it or not, that alone will make the Cowboys be interested, at least in OJ Howard. This is not the first time that Cowboys Nation brings up OJ Howard as a potential free agent target or even trade target or things like that. And I think it makes sense. Howard has the potential. And what is it, 4 years into his career or 5 years into his career? You don't want to keep talking about potential, but the size is there, the speed is there, and the flashes are there. And that is just one too many. One too many intriguing factors to me when it comes to OJ Howard. And that is why I would be highly interested in signing a player like him. And that $4 million projection that we just mentioned really contrasts quite interestingly to Schultz's projection. Because, okay, we know that re-signing Dalton Schultz will be very difficult. But maybe we haven't realized just how difficult it will be. Because PFF is projecting Schultz to be paid a $52 million contract for 4 years, which would come out to about $13 million per year in average. And a lot of people are projecting a similar number for a guy like Michael Gallup. And that really puts things in perspective. I don't know what PFF's projection is for Michael Gallup, by the way, but Gallup will be maybe flirting with that $15 million per year mark. So, hey, I'm all in for OJ Howard, to be honest with you. Dallas Junk says, I think OJ Howard could be even better than Schultz in our offense. Burner account disagrees. He says OJ Howard is just Blake Jarwin drafted in the first round, all potential and hasn't put it together. I agree with the second part of the comment. He hasn't put it all together. I don't agree with the first statement, though. I don't. I don't think that I would compare him to Blake Jarwin. But hey, although potential, when it isn't reached, it becomes a concern. There are a lot of success stories around the NFL with players like this, with players that have the traits, but that they have not been able to thrive in their previous situations. I do think that Howard can still give you something. I still believe that. I would love it. I would love it, says Dallas Junk, if we signed David Njoku, the Browns tight end. I always liked Njoku as well. I know that someone mentioned, I think it was Joseph Logan. He mentioned Hayden Hurst, who we will also discuss in a bit here. But first, Bruce Got the Use says, give Schultz Blake Jarwin's money. That sounds like a great idea in theory. And I know just about everyone in Cowboys Nation has thought about that. The question is, from 1 to 10, how confident are you in the Cowboys re-signing Dalton Schultz? Because I will tell you what, I'm not that confident. And I'm not that confident that what Bruce Got the Use is saying is doable. Like, it sounds good in theory, again. But listen, let me pull up Blake Jarwin's contract here real quick. Because if the Cowboys are to release Blake Jarwin, they would free up $3.85 million. They would have that in cap savings. $3.85 million in cap savings. That is not a lot when you start talking about the projection that PFF is putting out for Dalton Schultz. Because again, PFF is projecting Schultz to have a $13 million per year kind of contract, which would be very high, in my opinion. I can see why he could get that kind of number, but I still believe that that is a very high number. So from 1 to 10, I don't think that the Blake Jarwin think that the Cunningham and then signing Dalton Schultz for the same money. I don't think that we are realizing how much money Schultz could demand in the open market. So I don't think that that is a very viable option for the Cowboys. So I will say a very pessimistic 1 in my level of confidence for the Cowboys re-signing Dalton Schultz. From 1 to 10, I will tell you right now, my answer is 1. I don't see Dalton Schultz coming back to the Cowboys. I'm not optimistic about, for example, Michael Gallup, but I can see the path towards a deal. I can see the Cowboys really going, you know what? I don't care about the salary cap right now. We are getting Michael Gallup's contract done. I can see maybe that, even though I doubt it, and I'm also pessimistic about it. But I don't see that scenario with Dalton Schultz. I really don't. One says Dallas Young, and I think it would be a bad idea to give him a big payday. And then there's that part of the conversation, because I kind of agree with Dallas Young. I think that it would be a risky move by the Cowboys. Burner account, however, bringing up a very important point. This question depends on what happens with Cooper, though. And just about everything, by the way, in the Cowboys offseason will depend on what happens with Amari Cooper. And I know that I've said this before, but Cowboys, please do not get rid of Amari Cooper. I don't see how that is a good idea for anyone. Gregory says we should draft a tight end, a possibility for sure. Maybe I don't really see that as a real possibility in the first round, but I know that a lot of people are taking tight ends in mock drafts in the 5th round or in the 4th round or things like that. It's always about the best player available. And hey, Matt Owen, he tweeted out this mock draft that he had, and I think it was a 7-round mock draft. And he had Ferguson from Wisconsin in the 5th round. And I am dealing with exposure bias because I have not seen a lot of tight ends in this year's class, but I would love Ferguson in the Cowboys offense. Let's see. McKeon for tight end 1 says Dallas Young. I do believe that Blake Jarwin would be your number 1 if Dalton Schultz ends up leaving. Maybe I'm not that optimistic on someone taking over Jarwin's spot. So anyways, also Hayden Hurst is another possibility for the Cowboys in free agency. I know that Mosher was talking about it on Twitter this morning, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, Hayden Hurst has been in these teams in which maybe he hasn't had the opportunity to really shine because he was on a loaded tight end room, and then he moved on to the Falcons, and then the Kyle Pitts pick happened, which, hey, that's not something, that you could hold against him, of course. But Hayden Hurst could be a good player for the Cowboys as well. So definitely a guy that you cannot rule out. You cannot rule out. Terrence Steele, tight end once, his burner account. Hey, we have seen him do his thing, right? Hayden Hurst. Let's look at Hayden Hurst contracts, by the way, because I'm curious about this. I know that he had this myoverthecap.com website kind of froze over there. So yeah, that happened then. Let me see if we can get Hayden Hurst contract up here. What is up to the man, Uncle Charles, saying, what do you think about them keeping Kellen Moore? Whew. Well, I have a lot of thoughts about it, and we have discussed them here on Primetime. I will give you an answer, a quick one, but also I had an entire in-depth look at some problematic trends from the Cowboys on last night's show. So I also recommend that show, and I also wrote an article about it on adcsports.com. But even though my confidence has strongly wavered on Kellen Moore, I am still holding out hope that maybe there's something there that Kellen Moore can really bounce back from, because I do believe in his play designs. For example, I'm not that excited about him staying in Dallas, but I am not on the boat of those who have completely given up on Kellen Moore. I have not yet. So yeah, the Falcons signed Hayden Hurst to a contract, or was he? I don't remember if he was traded, though. Wasn't he traded? All right, so He was on a 2-year deal for the Falcons under $2 million, but not this likely was his rookie deal, right? 2018, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, so Hurst could be a very inexpensive player for the Cowboys. He was traded, indeed. I was confused there with those numbers up in overthecap.com. I think he could be a cheap player for the Cowboys. Not mad, says the real Darrell, at sick getting his money. When you look at what a running back has to do, says the real Darrell, hey, I'm not mad about it either. I didn't agree with the contract when he was signed to it, but hey, I'm with the real Darrell on this one. I'm not against players getting what they can get, right? Mo says burner account, with the amount of talent at running back and wide receiver, do we honestly need to have a stud tight end? No, I don't think that you need to have a stud tight end, but I do think that you need to be in a better spot than Blake Jarwin and whoever the tight end, the backup tight end for the Cowboys is. Talking about the players that were on this team last year. So I do think that you need to have maybe an upgrade there. And upgrading the position doesn't necessarily mean, to me, having a stud tight end. For example, I wouldn't categorize OJ Howard as a stud, but I think he has the potential to be a very good backup with starting potential on the Cowboys. But I agree with it not being this tremendous need. However, you guys know this. I am a fan of 12 personnel, and having a couple of good tight ends will help you with that, and will likely help the Cowboys maybe run the football a little bit better. Maybe, specifically because I was looking at some numbers, and they're split between zone runs, inside zone, outside zone, and then gap scheme blocking runs. They would benefit from better blocking tight ends. Definitely. I do think that they would benefit in those gap scheme runs. So anyways, moving on, because it is Monday. It is Monday, which means that we will take a look at one mock draft around the NFL, because that's what we do on Mondays here on Primetime. And this one was an interesting one. I got excited about it. So I will place the question in the chat before I let you know who the pick was. Grade this week's mock draft from Pro Football Network. This is from ProFootballNetwork.com. So let's go. This is Mock Draft Monday. And with the 24th overall pick, the Cowboys are taking safety, Daxton Hill. How about that? The timing of it was quite fun, because this mock draft came out after the show that we had on Thursday, when we called Daxton Hill a Micah Parsons-esque kind of player because of his versatility and the fact that he could be a chess piece for the Cowboys on their secondary and complemented perfectly with their chess piece that they already have on their defensive front. So Daxton Hill, got excited about this draft pick. This is from James Fergosa from Pro Football Network. Now, I know that you guys are smart, and I know that you guys are all about the best player available. So if you want more information to grade this week's mock draft, I will tell you some notable players that were still on the board. And some of you will not like this, but Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, offensive guard, was on the board. Zion Johnson, Senior Bowl standout, was still available, and the Cowboys could have addressed the left guard need right away. Already taken were the linebackers, Dean from Georgia and Devin Lloyd. Both of them were off the board. And also Tyler Linderbaum was already taken. So I think that the most notable players that were available when the Cowboys took Daxton Hill in this mock draft were Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson. But I like Daxton Hill a lot. And we've been talking about him on the Primetime show. We had a full show about him on Thursday. And he is quite the scheme fit for the Cowboys. Plus, he's a very talented player. I think that in terms of talent, if you go by Dane Brugler's rankings, he would be on that right spot because Hill is the 23rd best player in the draft according to Dane Brugler. I would guess that the guards are ranked higher than him, though, to be completely fair. But I think it's interesting because you start noticing that, hey, Hill could be a real possibility for the Cowboys. And we mentioned the fact that he was a single high safety in Michigan. He could be that very important free safety for Dan Quinn's scheme. I was taking a look at some numbers. The Cowboys were the 7th team in the NFL with the most single high looks throughout the season, and they played middle of the field closed coverages. So think cover 1, cover 3 with that free safety lined up in the middle. The Cowboys were the 3rd defense in the NFL with the most middle of the field closed looks in 2021. And Hill, maybe not the greatest run defender, but a lot of people note that he is quite the tackler. I wouldn't mind Daxton Hill at all with the 24th overall pick. I would guess right now that I like Kenyon Green at least way better than I do Daxton Hill, but I'm getting around Daxton Hill. I am getting around him. And I would be excited about this Cowboys defense, what they did last year, and pair that up with a clear upgrade at safety, because I think he would be an upgrade over Damontae Casey and maybe Malik Hooker, because Jaron Kears does not enter this conversation because he wouldn't play on the same role, but I would be excited about Daxton Hill. So I would say maybe a B, I would give them a B. I was going to say B minus, but I'm getting around to Daxton Hill. So, hey, B from me. 12 frees up the run, needs to use it more, says Jason Renfro. Oh, talking about the 12 personnel comment that we were making earlier. Not a fan, says Dallas Young, of taking him early. C minus. Burner account also goes with a C. Jason Renfro says that would be a good pickup. Let's see. Bruce Got the U says, if they draft a safety in round 1, I will do community service. Not that we don't need it, but because it's the first in forever. Yeah, we have given up about the Cowboys taking a safety high in the draft, right? But this feels like the kind of situation, and we talked about this on Thursday. This feels like the kind of situation that the Cowboys were going through in 2015. The fact that Hill is a safety, but he's also this nickel back that you can play in the slot, and then he could provide a lot of different answers for the Cowboys in coverage. And I think that Dan Quinn has gained enough clout within the Cowboys organization to maybe, if the board falls a certain way, to raise his hand and say, you know what, I really want Daxton Hill. And if he does, and I'm not saying that he will, I'm just widely speculating here, I think he would get that confidence maybe. And an example for that is the fact that the Cowboys did sign 3 safeties in free agency last year. Let's see. We have Ball, says Jason Renfro. So they probably thought they didn't need one right away. I'm guessing that Jason means offensive tackles and could still get good O-line players in later rounds. Hey, Jason is on something there. I will tell you what. That's an article waiting to be written over at adcsports.com, how Josh Ball really plays an X factor in this entire Cowboys offseason, because maybe Dallas isn't that concerned about drafting an offensive tackle if they are big believers in Josh Ball's talent, which I will say, and this is just my opinion, I think that they are. And I think that they are because of the mere fact that they drafted a player with such a off-the-field history in the 4th round of the 2021 NFL draft. I think Josh Ball really gives this entire offseason talk an X factor there. But anyways, back to the safeties. Robert says, I'm giving it a C. Personally, I think that we go offensive line. Says Robert. Gregory goes with a B+. Burner account says that he maybe likes the player, but hey, BPA. And hey, best player available. And I definitely respect that. Burner account says, Mo, do you think Hill could slide out of the first round and go high in the second? I think he could. He definitely could. He is a safety. So that's always possible. Here's the thing, Burner. Here's the thing about this question. You could make me that question with about any player that is not a clear-cut top 15 prospect. And even then I would have my doubts. And I would say, yeah, I think that can happen because the draft is crazy. And it is even more crazy. It might be even more crazy this year because there seems to be a lot of players that I don't want to say that this is a deep class necessarily, but between in the first round and second round will be very interesting, in my opinion. It can fall a lot of different ways. Dallas Young says, I would re-sign Hooker. Elmatic says, great pick. It will never happen, though. Safety and one tech Cowboys don't even consider in round one. Hey, Elmatic, I can see that, but I am kind of hoping that maybe Dan Quinn changes that. Yeah, Curious isn't a free safety. Yeah. Curious isn't a free safety. That is right, over there in the YouTube chat. Anyways, that's the mock draft Monday. Before I get out of here, guys, and before I let you be, how about the NFL signing a deal with the XFL? Now, I will tell you right now, there doesn't seem to be a lot of information going around on what specifically this agreement or this alliance will consist of. But the XFL is aiming to play football in 2023, and there was already this public statement from the XFL saying that they had reached a deal with the NFL to work together to further innovate within the game in terms of entertainment, in terms of health, and a lot of other things that they can work together. The main takeaway, and by the way, did not plan this question, but tell me if you are planning on watching the XFL or the USFL, which I think is drafting tomorrow, by the way. Let me know if you are going to watch any of these spring league leagues, in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. But the main takeaway from this is that the XFL is not going to be, at least not right away, a developmental league for the NFL. But they are agreeing on maybe working together. Maybe we see a bit of experimenting between the NFL and XFL. So the XFL wants to be creative, but they don't want to come off as gimmicky. So maybe they start experimenting with rules that are realistic enough that maybe they work in alliance with the NFL so the NFL can say to them, you know what, test this out and let me see if I do it myself in the NFL, which is, of course, the most important and will forever be likely the most dominant league in football. I don't see that happening in any multiverse or anything like that. So that will be interesting. Let's see. Mo, have you ever read about the XFL generator conspiracy? This is burner account. I have not. I don't even know what that is. Let's see. Robert Chuk says the XFL, he's planning on watching the NFL. Bruce Got the U says, I for one hope that this is the start of international football. I can tell you for a fact that the XFL, and these reports were out there, the XFL had conversations with the CFL. And once those were tabled, their start date was pushed back to 2023. Maybe if those weren't tabled, maybe we would be talking about the XFL kicking off in 2022. And there are rumors that the XFL was actually even contacting Mexico's leagues, which would be crazy because Mexico's professional football leagues are way behind even the CFL. They want to get to that level, definitely, but they're still behind. Like, one of the leagues is only 2 years old, the other one is started in 2016, so they are very young leagues. But the XFL was looking for those international opportunities, so I don't doubt what Bruce Got the Use was saying there in the chat. Burner account says, yes, I love football, period. I even watched the Puppy Bowl. They're only the NFL AC Sports, says John Stanley. Dallas Young says, I get all these other football leagues mixed up. Well, the XFL is the one from Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And I know people were confused about that Super Bowl beginning with The Rock. And some said, isn't he starting a competing league with the NFL? And then this came out days later. So there's that. We got maybe kind of an answer there. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Remember, we are here live Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Central on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. And also, check out adcsports.com/Dallas. For those of you who maybe missed last night's show or you want to read the numbers up close, I had an article published today on the 3 problematic and predictable trends that the Cowboys showed on offense, and maybe it serves as an in-depth look at what happened and what went wrong with the Cowboys offense. You can check that out on adcsports.com/Dallas. Thank you to John. I agree with the NFL being too big. Dallas Young, thank you. XFL has a 30-for-30. Oh, do they? I didn't know about that 30-for-30. USFL and XFL should merge too, says Bruce Got the Use. What day is the one cool thing? Ooh, Jason is looking forward to sharing his one cool thing. It is every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we do one cool thing. So, hey, Jason, I'm curious now. You got me hooked. If that was the goal, if you wanted to throw in a little teaser before we got out of here, you achieved it, sir. So anyways, guys, thank you, and I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central. See you guys.